I'm Olivia. I am a wildlife and travel photographer. My goal is to inspire people to give a shit.
I'm Pat. Spent 10 years in the Marine Corps. I have strong views on conservation and the U.S. Constitution.
We will discuss topics like yoga,
How to gut a deer and not fuck up your meat.
orgasmic meditation,
Full body orgasms.
life after divorce.
Life after death.
Why the fuck do we still use plastic bags?
Why can't everyone learn guitar in school?
What do you look for in the perfect photo?
What's in my food?
What's in my mouth?
We might also dabble in a little bit of motorcycles. That's right. She rides a Harley, bitches. While our upbringings drastically differed,
Our ability to communicate and be open-minded has allowed us to strengthen our relationship. So this podcast is here for you to broaden your horizons, possibly change your perspective on a topic. So we hope you enjoy listening to The Hunter and Hippie. Welcome to The Hunter and Hippie. We have somebody that I love, and you should love her too.
I do.
Okay.
Rude.
She's one of my favorite humans, Ashley.Kurtenbach, and we wanted to bring her on today because of that. She's taken so many chances and tried so many different things. To me, I just look up to that, like the fearlessness that you have. You know, she comes from a small town in Iowa. She's going to talk about that a little bit. And she's tried things from hairdressing to bodybuilding, and now she's selling multi-million-dollar properties as a real estate agent. Like, she's tried so many different avenues, and it's not like a job at Safeway or something. It's like a career path. And she's like, no, I did that for a while. I'm going to try something else that's super intense. So we wanted to bring her on just to shed light to the fact that you don't have to stay in one job for your entire career. You can try new things, and you can succeed in all of them if you want. So welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. Welcome.
So my first question was to paint a picture. Where did you grow up? What was the lifestyle like in Iowa?
So I grew up small town, Northwest Iowa, in a little town called Rock Valley. At that time, I think there were between 2,000 and 3,000 people. Church community, you know, we went to church twice on Sundays. Twice, morning and night. Most of my family is still there. I come from big families, like a lot of people in the Midwest. My parents had me when they were young, so they've always worked, and they've kind of done multiple jobs. We grew up on farm, ranch, our whole family, really. That's the main occupation. You get thrown into work pretty early on because you don't really have a choice. You might have a choice on what you do, but you don't have a choice whether to work or not to work. My dad used to work for the most of my life growing up, worked nights, and then we did cattle and hogs and all that during the day. And then he slept minimal, much like Pat does. And then my mom, she started at a meat packing plant when I was an infant and worked her way all the way up into accounting.
Wow.
And so she was working full time and then still did the wife of a farmer duties, you know, where you're still doing all the chores and making supper every night. And so that was kind of our upbringings, like, yeah, small town, living in the country life.
And the reason why I asked that is I feel like that's kind of what we have here. We're still in the Midwest. And that is what people have been kind of conditioned to do. It's like, oh, you go to school, you get a job, you get married, you go to church on Sundays, and like you stick it out. Like you pick a job, you got to love it. If you don't love it, suck it up type of mindset, it seems, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I want to know how you didn't do that. Like, what was it? Was it the rebel in you? Because I know you were quite the...
Yeah, I was quite the teenager. I mean, when your parents are young and they're busy, you push the limits a lot. So I think what happened in high school, our guidance counselor, I think in every high school, you know how they sit you down, they're like, what do you want to do? I'll be honest, my friends all said they were going to go for nursing. And so I kept saying the same thing, just to get it, just leave me alone.
Yeah.
Like, I did not love school. I hated it. I loved art. I was a really good art student. I loved music, but refused to apply myself to it. I would have been fabulous at piano, but I was like over it. I hated it because I had to.
You're a pretty good singer.
Yeah.
I've heard you sing karaoke.
Yeah. Yeah. If I applied myself, I would have probably made something of those talents. But you know how it is when your parents notice it and they are like, you should. The answer is no.
Yeah, that when they say the should word, you're like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And I liked sports, but we had cuts because I went to private school. Growing up, it was a Christian private school my whole life. And so we had cuts in high school. So I got cut from volleyball. I mean, when you're 4'11" and 99 pounds as a freshman, you're not getting picked to be an athlete.
What? You can't what is it? Spike or whatever?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. I was so tiny. There was no way. And, you're just crushed at first. But that's how I got into dancing, actually, which we can get back to. But from high school, everybody's like, where are you going to go to college? Where are you going to go to college? And I was I just wanted to go into the workforce. I kept telling my mom, I was like, I think I'll just go to a manufacturing plant because that's big. Down there is manufacturing. So I think I'm just going to go in there, get a job, have full benefits, and then decide. The answer was no. So I said, well, I want to go to a liberal arts college because I want to go for art. And the only reason I had said that was because my art teacher said that I couldn't take the 4th year of art unless I was scheduled to go into a college with an art degree.
Huh.
So because it was like a 1-on-1 or like a 2-on-1, it was specialty.
Special.
It wasn't open to the rest of the high school. And the only way he would continue to teach you as a senior was you had to be going into art into college.
Okay.
So I'm like, well, there goes that. So that was a no-go. And then it came down to the last couple years of high school. My mom's like, what are you going to do? I said, well, I'd worked at a salon since I was 5th grade dusting shelves. And then I became a certified tanologist like when I was high schooler to watch the tanning bed. And I was like, well, I kind of like being around that. Beauty school, I looked at it, 18 months. Wasn't a huge financial commitment. I could still live at home, could still work another job, which I liked. I liked to work.
Yeah, you like staying busy.
I love staying busy. Yeah. So when I said that, my mom's like, okay, I feel like that's a good move. And I loved it. So went into that. I can't even honestly say without looking at my resume, like how many years I was there.
Yeah.
Because when you go in, again, you have zero clientele. You pick up some of your family and some friends, but there was a lot of stylists in Rock Valley, like loads. And you know how it is. Everybody's just loyal, which was great when you got clients, but like they're loyal. So you're not going to pick up a ton of business when there's only 2,000 to 3,000 people.
Not a ton of walk-ins.
Yeah. What?
Not a ton of walk-ins when there's 2,000 people.
No. And even if you did, your luck would have it. You'd have somebody in your chair and then you'd have to hang out there all day. So when I first started, I delivered auto parts in the morning and then I bartended and waitressed at night. Because I bartended my whole way and worked, the chicken.
So you worked a job in the morning, then you went to beauty school, then you worked a job at night.
Well, when I was in beauty school, we had Mondays off. So Mondays and Sundays off. So I would go to school from, I think it was 8 to 5. I can't really remember. Tuesday through Saturday. Or Saturday might have been a little shorter day because you have to get X amount of hours in. But then on Sundays, I would work chicken barns because agriculture jobs, they paid the best.
Yeah.
So it was that or dairy cows and chickens. I don't know. At the time, they sounded better. And I was just trying to make as much money as possible to pay for school and then still save because I didn't know what I was going to do when I graduated for sure. So, and then I bartended at a golf course and served all day on Mondays and it was men's league. So I'd bartend. That was the longest shift.
And this was right after you graduated. So you're like 18?
Yeah, I was 18, 19.
Okay.
Yep. And then
I'm just thinking of if like the kids nowadays are hearing this, they're like, you did what?
Yeah.
Like I know a handful, very small handful of kids that still do that now.
Right.
But like, yeah, your generations, because you guys are closer than I am.
Right.
You guys are old. Because you're a Gen X then. Is
I'm
that
like
right,
right on the middle.
I don't even know when the cutoff is.
1984. I was born, so I think I'm right on the middle. Like, depends what chart you're looking at. Because I think millennials start 1985, 1984. Nobody knows. Yeah, I don't know.
I know that I'm one being 90, so.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you're easy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That sounds like it's so crazy.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So with exploring so many different avenues in your career path, what was the biggest and most impactful scrutiny that you received?
In all the jobs, I've worked in a lot of male dominant industries too, like the hunting industry and even some of the real estate, just being like a female. But honestly, if you just don't let it intimidate you, and when you're a serial entrepreneur or serial careerist, whatever you want to call it, when you let that stuff eat at you to the point where you're too scared to try, you'll never do it.
Yep.
If you just ride that wave for a second, just say, I'm just going to do one thing at a time, one day at a time, you can overcome all of it. It's just getting out of your own head.
Yes.
And because it doesn't matter what avenue you go into, you're always going to have setbacks or challenges. If you just look at them as one bite of the elephant at a time,
Yes.
I think you can overcome it, right?
Sure.
Because everybody's nervous Nellies when they go into a new job. I mean, I'm sure did you have that when you went into being a cop?
Yeah. Approaching the different career paths, just like you said, one bite at a time, stick it out for a little while, see if it's going to stick, see if it's going to work. And then if it does, and that's what is not comical, but kind of comical for me, is because you were successful at all of the career paths that you did. And then at some point you're like, nope, I'm still going to do something else.
Yeah, that's
So-
why I'm like, we have to bring her on because we were texting about something. And you're like, oh yeah, like when I was a bodybuilder, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot you did that too. Like, what haven't you done? Were you an astronaut?
I think when an opportunity comes along, I mean, I've definitely had failures, right? In different avenues. It's just how quickly can I learn from it? How quickly can I recover from it?
Mhm.
So I can move on. Because if I harp on this, you don't get to the next step.
True.
And I think everything was like, oh, opportunity, and how can I take this to the next level, and let's try this and let's try that, type of thing.
Yeah.
Because even when I got done with beauty school and I was like, this, I need to leave this small town. I had like a bad relationship. That's another podcast. Bad relationship, and I wasn't happy, and I didn't feel like myself. I felt suffocated. And that's when I decided to go back to school, non-trad, for my paralegal pre-law degree. And at that point I was single and I was career driven, and I was like, I was always meant to be an attorney. I wasn't ready to apply myself at the age of 18, 19. So, low to mid 20s, I was ready to fully engulf myself. I mean, I had it set up where I totaled my one car. I'm like, oh, next car I buy has to get me through the next 8 years of school. Like everything I did was planned.
Calculated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I laid it out financially too. Like, how can I afford to do this?
Yeah,
And-
because law school is not cheap.
Yeah.
No.
And at
you
that
can't
time you were
work.
what? You were 20, 21?
I was like, yeah, when I was going to non-trad, my undergrad, so my bachelor degree
Sure.
was when I was, 21 to 23 or so, 24, something like that. I did 3 years.
Yeah. And that's just, it's crazy because you don't see that anymore. And like with me, it was contract work. So I was contracted in the Marine Corps. I was contracted as a contractor afterwards, but you fulfill the contract and then you worry about what's next, and to not be contracted into it and just say, you know what, this isn't working. I'm going to do something that works, or I'm going to do something that's more exciting. That's awesome. That's crazy. Looking at it from the perspective of, new entrepreneur, it's like, man, like Scott said on our last podcast, just throw shit at the wall and see if it sticks.
100%.
And you're like, throw shit at this wall and this wall and this wall, and we'll see which one sticks.
100%. Because you have different passions and we all have different likes.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I like to do this a lot, but what does a career look like in that direction? So you try that, and then financially, or maybe the passion, it was just like when we did that brief little stint on doing hunting, like we did a TV show, Jesse and I did. We love hunting, but the second you start putting the pressure on, all of a sudden you're like, ooh.
Yeah. You're like, it's now a job and
It's
not a
not
passion.
fun anymore.
And I've had this conversation with Jesse, and that's what happened to me with baseball.
Yes.
Baseball was fun. I played it for 23 years. Anyone who knew me was like, oh, he's a baseball player, like first. And then I was whatever else. And when I moved into college, it became more professional and it became more of a job. And it was okay at 5:30 a.m. You wake up, you go to the gym, then you go to school. When class ends at 2:00, you go back to the gym. And if you did legs in the morning, you're doing shoulders in the afternoon, and then you have baseball practice till sundown. And then, if you're a pitcher or catcher, then you've got extra. Oh, by the way, we have media day, and then we have our sponsorship day, and then it just became a business, and you weren't being paid. Nowadays they get paid, but
Oh, really?
yeah,
Oh.
yeah, that's why Deion Sanders' kid, he's like a billionaire before he's even in the NFL, because he's got 42 sponsorships,
Right.
and they're paid sponsorships. But when it became more of a business, I lost all my interest.
You're like, I'm going to the
Yeah.
Marines.
Well, that's another story, but yeah. War broke out, and I had a capability that I knew I was confident in, and
Hunting.
people.
Right.
Humans.
Well, yeah, it was a passion. See, it was
Yeah.
another direction. You have passion in baseball, but you had passion in other things too. So
Yeah.
you're like, okay, well, let's just go toe dip into this, and then you keep going if you like it.
Yeah.
Same thing with bodybuilding. I did the exact same thing. I enjoyed the scheduled routine, and that was kind of first when I moved to Spearfish and I didn't have any friends, and I worked from home, and there was no way to meet anybody. But as soon as bodybuilding turned into a job, and my coach said it too, the second this turns into a job and it's not fun anymore, we're done. We're done. And I kind of quit at the top of the amateur totem pole right before going pro.
Sure.
And that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to step away.
What was the type? Because I know that there's like the super ripped chicks, and then because you're
Yep.
tiny, so weren't you the
Bikini. It was
Okay.
the division, which now they just introduced another new division for that league. And I just did bikini. It was naturally like kind of muscular, but I didn't have the desire to be just totally jacked.
You don't want to be Jesse in a G-string?
Yeah, no. No. It wasn't for me. And honestly, when you're working out that much and you are putting on muscle, I had got to a point where you're almost changing shirt sizes. And that's when, as a female, you're like in your head. You look good, like mentally, you're like, oh, I'm getting so much bigger. So
and
it's getting hard.
then you also, like, when you don't have any fat, like, isn't there, like, you lose your period?
You can.
Yeah,
Yes.
and like
Hormonal imbalance.
you can get that. What is that hair called? That
hair.
All kinds
You know
of
what I
weird
mean?
stuff starts
Yeah.
to happen. to
Folliculitis.
females.
is that what it is?
No, that's pink eye.
Oh.
But
You could probably get that at one of those shows.
yeah, I was going to say.
G-string in your face.
Yeah, I guess I need to rewind a little bit and recap what I was just talking about, because Jesse in a G-string, her husband is Jesse, and he's huge. He's a massive dude.
Yeah.
So it'd be like, I don't know, a miniature Arnold Schwarzenegger wearing a thong. Yeah, I say miniature because he's not
balls of
6'5".
muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's all muscle.
Right.
Yeah.
He's got like muscles on muscles.
Yeah.
So anyway, as soon as that kind of turned, and there became more stress. Like when you get to a point where you could start making money, I helped train and helped create programs. And that was kind of paying for that avenue of things. And I was getting some contracts with certain brands and things like that. But I think as soon as you get more pressure, it just becomes, you're like, this is not fun anymore.
Right.
So
It
is
takes
that-
all the fun out of it.
Is that kind of the reason why you've switched jobs so many times? Like, if it's just not enjoyable anymore, or is it just you're like, I want to see what I can do, like try something else entirely?
I like challenges. I think as soon as I get complacent and it's not challenging anymore and you're just checking boxes and punching time cards, that's when I start to check out, because it's not fulfilling me.
Yeah,
I
you get
mean,
bored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not happy and you spend more time at work than you do at home with your family, you do anything else. So if you're not happy doing it in like a fairly good capacity, you should probably just look at other opportunities. And what I have found is when you find the opportunities that come when you're not looking.
Yeah.
But also you have to be hyper aware as to, oh, this is an opportunity.
That's the first
Yeah.
thing I thought of. Like, sure, it could be right in front of you and you're like, yeah. But if you see it, if your eyes are open to all of the opportunities and you acknowledge it and do something about it, I think that's the difference. Because there's
Yes.
been things that I've been offered, like, oh yeah, I try that. And I'm like I see it, but I already can see that it's not something I would enjoy.
Right.
Like shooting weddings. I
Yeah.
don't want to.
Yeah. You don't want to.
I don't want to.
You would be phenomenal at it because your eye is next to none. But
Yeah.
if it doesn't fulfill you, then it's a job.
Yep.
And you're
Yeah.
checking boxes.
And that's, yeah, it's like, all right, would that make me feel energized after a shoot, or would I be completely drained going into it, dreading it? And then you have to then edit and work on it for hours after that.
Yeah.
And so I think you got to just be honest with yourself. Sure, it could be an opportunity, but is it one that you are going to feel fulfilled and energized? There's a thing that I tell any employee when I'm doing the hiring process at the gallery. I say there's a difference between thriving and surviving. So in an environment where you're talking with strangers and you're telling stories about the art or the building, is that an environment where you feel energized? And at the end of the day, you're like, I feel great. Sure, your feet might hurt from standing. Or is it you're like, oh my God, I got to talk to another person today type of thing? So there's a difference. Are you more extroverted in a gallery environment where you enjoy meeting new people? Or is it something where you're like, well, I just want to get paid? It's not going to last. So for me, it was that whole question type thing that I did with the weddings. Like, sure, I could get paid real well, but am I going to be a happy person while doing it?
Right.
No.
And I think you have enough life experience. If you can dabble in as much as possible before the age of 30, I always look at life in 4 lifetimes, right? So if the average age we live to be 75, 80, every 20 years is a life cycle, basically.
Yeah.
So your first 20 years of life, you're just trying to figure out, you learn how to eat, walk, talk. Like you're just learning
drive a car, yeah.
how to survive, basically. If you get any life experience before that, awesome. Great. 20 to 40 is like really when you dive into career. You have enough life experience at this point. You're like, I know I will not like to do this.
Yeah.
And you can say no because of what you've developed and what you've learned.
Yeah. So if I was early 20s and getting into photography,
probably would have said yes.
I probably would have tried it. And I mean, who knows? I might have enjoyed it. But now as I'm a curmudgeon, middle-aged-ish woman, I can say no to things.
Wow.
Bah humbug.
Another question for you, because, you came from a population of 2,000, 3,000, moved to a population of 2,000 or 3,000, but now you have a retail company in town. What is, as the business owner or business partner / owner in a state where you didn't grow up, people you didn't know, when the doors opened wide, you knew probably a handful, maybe 20 people. What are some of the challenges you were faced with operating in a small community? And then what is the greatest reward out of operating in the small community other than financially?
So when I started Two Broke Girls with Kelly, Kelly had lived here for, at that time, 15 or so years. She knew a ton of people. I started volunteering around here on things that I liked, like Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, etc. Then I met like-minded people. That's how I started meeting more and more people. And then Kelly was one of the first people in this community that actually reached out and it was kind to me to be friends. Like, hey, let me know if you need anything. And then she ended up working, when she graduated nursing school too, she ended up working with Jesse and her now husband Kip. So we had kind of had this whole like little bond within the hospital. And so I started meeting more people throughout that. And then we started Two Broke Girls. In a small town, what makes it successful is honestly word of mouth, referrals. And if you treat people good, they treat you good back.
Yeah. And that's, I think, the difference, because that's where I met you. We just started talking in the boutique. And I was like, who is this chick? I really like talking with her.
Right.
And I think that is, like, I have an example. I was in Utrecht in the Netherlands. And small town. The only reason why I even know that name is that it's a paint brand, like paint supplies. It's called Utrecht. And it's from that Dutch community. And I went into this jeans store. Don't remember the name of the jeans, but it's like quality jeans. And this guy, I think his name was Mitchell, spoke very good English. And he starts taking us through and showing us what makes a good jean. Like the sides, if you look on the outside of your calf, you'll see the two fabrics joining, like there's an end. And it's not like scraps. Let's see. Hold on. Yeah.
Okay.
So see how this has, like, you guys can't see on the camera, but there's like a full swatch of fabric. So he's telling us a quality jean has that. He then tells us about how the machines they use to make the jeans are from Levi Strauss, the original machines, and they still use them today. This is 8 years ago, and I still remember it. But he treated us with such respect and he gave us such cool information. Like he knew we weren't going to buy. They were expensive jeans, but he spent the time with us. And I feel like that's what you and Kelly do. Like anybody who walks in, you give them your attention. And I think that's huge, especially in a small town. Like you said, word of mouth is so important.
Yeah. And I think when we started it too, I had done retail previously as another side job when I was going to college and actually got recruited into that job because when I first moved to Sioux Falls to go back to school, I knew I could waitress. So I applied at all these restaurants and there's like 700 and some at the time. I was like, this will be no problem. I work hard. I should be able to get a job. I couldn't believe how long it took to get a job. Yeah.
Wow.
My parents were floating me some cash. I moved in with a house full of, basically they're now all just big brothers at a time because I couldn't afford to live anywhere close on my own. And so I got a job at the Texas Roadhouse, hated it. I got into the big city restaurant scene, which is when you come from a small town, is not conducive to your way of life at all. And I was so shell shocked when I started working. I was like, I am not like anybody here. I need to get out of this. And I used to shop at the Buckle. And the manager had sat me down and said, well, why don't you come work for us? I said, well, I'm sorry, I won't make enough money to even pay my rent because minimum wage, I think, was $7.50 or $7.25 back then. I said, and they started you out. You did commission, but they started you out, I think, at $5 something. And then you made commission on your sales. And I just looked at, okay, 25 hours a week, $5 some an hour. What if I sell nothing? And she said in my interview, she said, well, do you think you can sell one pair of jeans a day? I said, for a whole like 6.5 hour shift? Yeah, I can do that. I think I can do that. I mean, what's a $50 pair of jeans in 6 hours? She goes, well, that's minimum wage with your commission.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, well, I'm going to go quit that job. So I started working there and I loved it. I was good at it. I loved helping. So when we brought that in with Two Broke Girls, it was really about helping people and making women, I mean, they come in on their worst day for retail therapy, usually. I want something tangible that makes me feel good. When you get to be a part of that, that's amazing. You can literally see someone come out of a dressing room in a full outfit when you can dress someone head to toe with everything. You can see the weight. I can't explain it, but you can see like this joy come out of their face.
Yeah,
it's so
they
much,
light up.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
so rewarding.
Yep.
And so when you pass that on, it was so gratifying just getting to help people. And then also being able to, when you have a small business, Kelly and I, even though we were broke, like beyond broke, but just
Two
giving,
broke girls.
yeah, really, really, really like really broke. Still giving back to the community, to the events, like, hey, we want to be a part of it. And that's kind of how we got our name out too, was giving when we had nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. And
yeah, I think that's huge. With my dad's interview, we talked about, sure, it's easy when you have a lot of money to just throw a check at it. But like, especially when you're successful financially and you're super busy, to give your time. So for you to not have money and then give product or give your money, that's the same equivalent, I think.
Yeah. So that was one way how it kind of spread and how we grew the business in Spearfish with Kelly living here forever.
I'm thinking back when I was on active duty, and I think our wages averaged to like 24 cents an hour in the military. If you go 365 days, because you're not actually off of work, you're on call. If you actually counted hours worked, it was like $2 an hour. It was horrible. I took a lot of that check and I would give the Ducks Unlimited and Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation and then the California Mule Deer Foundation. So I would donate to those three annually and be a member. I had no money, but I knew what it was going to. And, you're happy because you might get a duffel bag. This is Ducks Unlimited, like a little blind bag, or you might get a sticker for your car that's Rocky Mountain Elk. Back then in early 2000s, it was a status thing. If you had Rocky Mountain Elk on your truck and or you didn't, you were hunting and you didn't have that, it was like you're new. Right. You avoid this guy, we're gonna get shot. Yeah.
It's amazing.
So with all the different career paths, is there one that got away?
I still enjoy doing hair. if social media would have been big over 20 years ago, and you could have developed it out that way, because now there's so many avenues for a cosmetologist. It's not just booth rent if you don't want it to be. I would have traveled, but when I was 19, I had no idea how to grow a business, how to invest into marketing, what that looked like, what avenues it could take. In small town, you have small town thinking sometimes, and you get into a box. If you go to beauty school now, sky's the limit with social media. If you really think about it, all the different, I mean, extensions and all the different things, like the aesthetics you can do, like for skin, and add to like different services. And there's a lot of people who are hiring out private, doing that way and traveling different events. Like you could get hired out. And now there's, with the internet and social media, you can find those opportunities. In 2004, you were not finding those opportunities at all.
Yeah, there was MySpace.
Yeah. So I always think about exactly. I didn't even have Facebook till
you were my top 9. You were on my top 9 friends.
I remember that was fun to like customize your wallpaper and all that.
Oh yeah, it was a big thing if you could figure it out and make a really cool looking page.
Yeah, you remember when you click on the page and it automatically plays a song?
Yes.
I remember everyone was like, "Holy shit, this is amazing! This is awesome!"
I think when I closed mine, I think it was Monsters by Matchbook Romance.
But just think about the chances of opportunity now. So I look at that, but what have I been burned out? Possibly, quite possibly. Or a lot of stylists get carpal tunnel or shoulder injuries, like rotator cuff after just all day on your feet, things like that. That could have changed everything too. Yeah. So you never know what could have happened.
You not only have you tried a bunch of avenues and different career paths along the way, like you kind of brushed on, you volunteered with many things. You have helped and gotten involved in local politics. Like you've done a lot of things that don't pay as well. So when you're not working your 5 jobs, you're volunteering.
Right. Well, I always tell Jesse this too, when he's like, "Hey, should I join this board?" I got asked. I said, "What do you give back to what gives you? Like your career. If it's your career, what do you give back to your career? Like maybe there's something you do on the side." But like now he's part of the state board.
I didn't know that.
For nurse anesthetists. And for conservation, we love hunting, and I love being outside so much, whether that's backpacking or just hiking, whatever. I love it so much in wildlife that I want to give back to the thing that fulfills me the most in my free time, which anytime I get to spend time outside, that's my happy place. Like ultimate happy, no worries. And so how do I give back for that? What I found is being on those committees and boards with politics. So at one point when I was finishing out college, I was a congressional intern for the U.S. Senate. And I never thought in a million years I would ever care about at all. I thought I could just live my life, just blinders.
Right.
But when you start getting involved on volunteering for boards, you look at how can I really make a change. So I was really good at fundraising events. That's where my talent, I can help organizations raise money for events. The kicker is that's not enough. You can never have enough money to actually fight everything. So you have to start figuring out, how do you make change at the policy level? Because that's where real change happens.
Yeah.
So now you need to take those 2 talents, and you can't really let off the gas, and you have to keep people motivated. But if you can start understanding at the policy level, or volunteer yourself to run for office to really make the change and go through all of that, which is awful. But if you got thick skin, you're going to be fine. You just go over the negative stuff.
And that's hard. Was that an article on you that there was like a smear, or was that a friend?
No, that was Erica.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. I remember you were not happy.
Well, it's small town politics, and it's kind of like, don't attack somebody personally. I mean, they did on me too, but it's fine. You got thick skin. You know you're going to have it. I can't understand it at this level when it's county or even state level. It's so small. The state is small.
Yeah.
To smear somebody that you live in the same town, same county, blows my mind.
Yeah.
We're all people. You have to look at people as people. you're not going to agree with everybody, nor should they have to agree with everything you do.
And that's okay.
Yes.
It's okay to have a different opinion.
So whether you're out there petitioning to get signatures for somebody, that helps. Somebody who you don't have to agree with them 100%, but if you agree on some of the major issues to get them into office, that helps, and you don't have to be the one to do it. That's where I'm at now. I was going to run again, but then I think I'm more valuable helping good people get in and helping communities realize where the difference is, because a lot of people don't want to pay attention. And unfortunately, once you're in for good.
Yeah.
Like you don't leave.
Yeah, like Nathan. I was like, hey, congrats. And he's like, sometimes it feels like that. Like other times it feels like condolences.
Right. Yeah.
Because he's in it now.
It sucks.
Yeah,
he's
in it.
And you have to be a leader, and you have to have extremely thick skin. And I think that's part of how I grew up, with having parents, not that they weren't there. I mean, I'm not going to say that, but I was a latchkey kid.
They were
for
working.
Sure. Yeah, they were working. So you have to become extremely independent. And I think you develop thick skin where you just let things roll, because stuff is not going to go smoothly.
Yeah.
You can't hyper focus on, oh my God, that just fell up. Don't. Just let it is what it is, and move on.
Like a duck with water just rolling off its back.
Yeah.
That's what I picture. That was not me. Nope. Like when I was helping get signatures for the mining, getting, like the petitions and everything signed for that, I got some pushback, and I was like, like instantly, like, I'm like, no, like it's okay that they have a different opinion. Right. Like take 2 breaths for somebody like this. That's what helps me. Take 2 breaths and don't respond right away. Cause like I'm instantly like, oh, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. Like back away type of mindset. So that's what I have to do. But you two and Alexa, you're like, yeah, whatever. Talk shit, write an article, don't care. And me, I'm like,
yeah. And honestly, even with real estate, I've gotten even better when people have like either a misunderstanding. I'll just ask, how did you come to that conclusion? Why do you think that? Like, well, I had this, or somebody said this. And a lot of times, sometimes they don't even know they have options, or how they came to that conclusion. They're not necessarily hardcore into that decision too. And that's with politics as well. Like when it comes to policy, and it's like, well, why did you vote for that? Well, I voted because so-and-so said this, or the advertisement said that. And you're like, if you're open, did you ever think about it this way? And most people are honestly receptive.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
To a conversation, as long as you don't come at it attacking them.
Yeah, definitely. You don't want to attack somebody's character for having a different opinion.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I think with me, when statistics are brought in and I can see numbers, or I can see results or lack of results, then I'm able to make a more sound decision, because I'm going to base it off of, is this a good plan? Is this a good idea? Is this going to better those around me and the people involved in my life?
Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Right. It has to make sense.
No.
That's where I come from on almost everything.
Yeah.
Does it make sense to do this?
Right.
And I'm thinking about the one time when I was like, hey, do you want to sign this to help fight a new quarry going in next to residential houses, like people's properties, and then this dust ball? And they were like, well, we don't care what people do on their private land. And that was the response. And once I left, I got in my car and I was like, damn it, I should have just asked, so if it were, I don't know, a brothel going in next door, would you be okay with that? Because if you're okay with, anything going, sure, you're okay with a quarry, but this could go both ways, like it could be like Pahrump, Nevada. Like I remember we went to Front Sight. I was doing like handgun training. And next door was a petting zoo. And then right next to that was like a strip club. And then a school. Like, because there's no zoning. Like the zoning
business.
There's whatever you want. So as soon as this person said that, that's what I thought of, but I didn't say it in like this diplomatic way. I just thought, shut up and walk away. But asking, I think, open-ended questions is a huge way to have people be receptive to another side. So next time.
Yeah. And in a number of situations too, what I found when I was running for office and in any career, and this comes with age, with life experience, with confrontation, is really making something comfortable when it's extremely uncomfortable and everybody in the room can feel it. Like, can you overcome that to make people feel comfortable enough to open up I love being able
How
to
do
try
you
and
do that? Do you make a joke?
So
can.
I just ended my recent training that you guys know about, and the takeaway from that, the mantra of the entire training is get extremely comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes.
And because
100%.
that's 100% of what is going to happen with that training. So when you're entering a structure, you don't know the layout of the building, but a subject does know the layout of the building, and they've barricaded themselves into that building in a specific room. They know every avenue of approach to that, and you don't.
Yeah.
So you have to enter that structure and either rescue a hostage or eliminate a threat, and you don't know the layout. So you're extremely
That's
uncomfortable.
fear.
I don't know that the hallway has 2 doors.
Yeah.
I think that I just turn the corner and it's like, well, let's see what's there. So you got to get extremely comfortable being uncomfortable and perform.
Extremely comfortable having your life possibly ended. That's what that sounds like.
Well, that's just the career risk.
The risk.
But
yeah. You're
Risk
like,
versus
yeah,
reward.
but that also gives a heightened sense of awareness.
Yeah.
At least for me.
Right.
Well, and like you had said, the thing that I thought you were going to talk about with that is like the strobe lights and the, like, you're able to kind of the advantage they have. You're able to drop it down a few notches with some tools that you have.
Yeah, for sure. Dude takes off on a foot pursuit. I'm old. I used to be fast. I used to be a lot of things. But dude takes off. I'll just take out my flashlight and I'll hit the strobe light in front of him. Have you ever tried running in a strobed room?
No.
It's very difficult. They
You should try it
90%
I
of
want to
the
try it.
they 90% of the time are going to trip.
Really?
Yeah, and then I just walk over there. Be like, "Well, that was dumb, wasn't it?"
But don't you think in your career and like your recent training, so like kind of like I said, with a new career or new steps in anything, you have this time period where you second guess and you're in your head. That's fear, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You probably process it in a situation like you have to process it 10 times faster. Get into your head where you're like, nope, we're okay.
The more training you have, the more comfortable you are with that
Right.
situation. When the fear arises, it's kind of a fuel. Mike Tyson talked about fear being his best friend. And when their stakes are at the level that they are in a situation like that, where it's life or death pretty much, or somebody else's life that you can either save or help facilitate a save with your actions, you'll notice those that have been well trained, they move faster. Everything happens quicker. The fear becomes a driving force.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, it's that whole like, the flight or freeze.
yeah,
or fight
or flight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fight or flight or
exactly.
freeze. Yeah.
Yep.
And with you've got so much training that your body's like, all right, let's go.
It doesn't.
Training and life experience.
I honestly
you have
don't. I don't even think about it. It's
second
what
nature.
needs to get done. Go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember a perfect example of this in a simulation after the 4 days of learning how to, use a handgun and all that. We went in the simulation room and there was a hostage and there was, like, it's not a real person. It's like those
The pop-up.
cardboard. Yeah. The pop-ups. And you're in this room and like one comes out of the window and the door. And then all of a sudden there's the hostage and the person.
Mhm.
And I just shot the guy. Didn't even bring it up. Didn't even line up my sights, nothing. So what the instructor said is when adrenaline is involved, your accuracy with a gun is like 50%
Yep.
of your training.
Mhm.
So for me to spend 4 days, it's like I spent 2 days training and I just like bang. And I'm like, hey, I didn't kill the girl, but I totally didn't even take the time to line up my shot. Nothing.
A lot of times in situations like that, fine motor skills go out the window. Sympathetic nervous system shuts down. So mass motor skills are still functionable. I can grab something with my entire hand, but if I had to pick it up with my fingertips, I wouldn't be able to.
Huh.
And that's why you train for the little things. It's easy for me to just grab something with fine motor skills in a hectic situation.
Yeah.
Trigger finger especially, right? You'll see guys panic, and when they panic, they're
Just punching it.
Yeah, they're basically just slapping the hell out of the trigger. And their shot placements all
It's
over the place. And if you train it, you can train. I sent you that video.
Yeah.
The target presents itself. You can rapidly present your weapon, rapidly engage the target with accuracy as long as you train it. And if you put yourself in a shitty situation when you're training, then when the shitty situation arises, you're already used to it.
Yeah.
And that's the way the Marine Corps, law enforcement, everything I've done now, leading up to now, we put ourselves in the worst possible scenario that you can think of. 8 of us will sit at a table and come up with the most ungodly, craziest scenario situation there is. Oh, and then when everything went as planned, somebody will throw a wrench in it and say, okay, now the hostage.
Your arm's cut off or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, the hostage was in this room, but now it's another room with a suspect who now has the grandmother. And it's like, oh, okay. So everyone stops for a second and goes, okay, it's the same exact scenario. It's just in a different room. So you turn around and you keep going.
Practice.
In that line of work, you get introduced into uncomfortable consistently. And you're dealing with humans, which are the worst, right?
Oh, yeah.
They're unpredictable, right? So anytime in career life, take those uncomfortable opportunities, because those are opportunities too. And you can learn more in life and for career, for risk versus reward, if you take that and you put yourself in uncomfortable situations. For example, recently working with another real estate agent, they do things different than I do. My way isn't right. I just like how I do it.
That's just your way. Yeah.
But like I'm constantly adjusting, because you can take these bits and pieces if you're open and you choose to learn from them, and you can kind of take, just tidbits from what you learn throughout life or different clients or how to work, all those types of things. But that's uncomfortable because people develop a system sometimes when you're in a career for so long, you just become like, I'm sure you've seen it with certain people. Yeah. Where it's just, well, this is how I like to do it and this is how I work. And if you don't constantly engage in different training in uncomfortable situations, you have no idea how you're going to react in them. And you become not fearless, but less fearful in certain situations. I don't know. We were just on that trip and I don't know, my mom said, aren't you worried about this? I said, no. Why? Because I've already thought it through. It's 10 times worse, because we watched, when we were eating supper one night, we watched a guy perch snatch right off the gal's whole backpack, right off the back of her chair, started taking it off. And I don't know what the laws are there.
Wow.
But our waitress literally dumped everything she had, started taking off because it happened on their property. And she said, it's now my problem. So if it happens on your I don't know if that's a Florida thing.
Yeah, because I remember in California when I worked at an Apple store, there were these like high school kids that would come in and steal one of the display iPads or phones right off the table. And there was a coworker of mine that was he was in the academy training to be a police officer. And we played the footage, and the kid steals a customer's brand new phone. They just set it up, take it out of the box, turn it on. Kid grabs it and does a basketball turn, pivots around, and you see him, Anthony, the coworker, he freezes because he's I just want to tackle the guy, but you can't touch him, right? Even if they're in the store,
right? Yeah.
And so that just blew my mind. But yeah, so I love that server just went taken off. I
went after it, and it's just that's uncomfortable. But my mom's like, well, what would you do? What would you do? I was like, that's why when I travel, I have crossbodies, fanny packs. I have 2 sets of ID. One I keep in the room and one I keep on my body.
That's smart.
I have concealed carries in different states with your pictures. That's FBI background check. If they don't take that at an airport, it takes more to get one of those.
Yeah, totally.
Than it does a driver's license.
Yeah. And I'm thinking about that, and I'm like, God, that's why I left California. Just super liberal.
Oh.
I mean, do that in Texas.
Yeah.
You will die.
That dude's
Florida,
dead.
I feel is kind
of.
I know.
It is. Florida's, I'll show you guys after this. There's a sheriff in Florida. I forget what county he is, but that dude, some of the things he says in press conferences, you're like, really? You could say that?
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. You didn't get, dragged through the streets.
Well, it's like a carjacking, right? There's carjackings in Florida all the time. Well, California, there's a carjacking. They're stealing private property.
Oh my God.
Right? It's stealing private property. In Florida, it's a violent crime to carjack.
Well, it's Grand Theft Auto.
Right, which is a felony, but it's a non-violent felony.
Yeah.
Because it's property. You're not, even though the person is being forced out of their vehicle, at the end, their life was not in danger. They just wanted the vehicle, is the way California sees it. Florida says this is a violent crime occurring on a person on Florida's ground, on this guy's county, whatever county it was, in my county. He said deadly force will be met.
Oh shit.
And they did. They caught the
stealing
guy who
cars.
carjacked the car, and the deputies killed the guy, shot him a lot. And in the press conference, they were like, "Don't you think that's excessive?" And he said, "Excessive? Absolutely not. Do it again, and we'll do it again."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "You could say that?
I bet you though.
You could say that. Bet we're moving to Florida."
There's probably fewer cars being stolen in his county.
Probably, definitely.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
But so going back to it, anytime there's an abundance of fear, just use the fear as fuel. And I think about opening the general contracting LLC, and my first approach was like, on the side I can just change out a ceiling fan, $200, not a big deal. And then the more I got talking to people and talking to you, it's like, oh, well, if I can do a contract with a business who needs constant upgrades and constant maintenance, well, then I don't have to search as much for work. The work is there. I just have to perform the work.
But then you're also like hooked to it. So that's can be a different fear.
Right.
But you're like, I'll just tackle it as it comes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like I was just provided a pretty big job, and I'm on the fence. I'm like, do I do it, or do I push that off to somebody I know has the capability of doing it easily?
But who's to say you don't? Is it fear that's making you second guess yourself?
Logistics and fear. Yeah.
You're like, I don't want to mess up your house.
The liability's huge, but at the end of the day, it's more logistics, because you need a lot of tools. I got to peel back a roof. I got to inspect a wall. I got to change structure. A structural engineer is already involved. So I'm like, man, do I want to get involved in that? Or do I want to just go change a light switch?
At the end of the day, people who will step in and help you. I think we often disregard the people that, even if you're not buddies with them,
right?
Yeah,
that will help. Like when you run stuck, like, I need help with this. Is this something I either need equipment? I need a second look at this. I got into it. I'm over my skis. That happens all the time, So sometimes it's taking on a job like that, but you're going to learn a crap ton from it if you do take it on. Yeah. Like, that's the way I look at it, but it's uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think saying yes to more things can open your whole life up to so many more possibilities. Like if I didn't say yes to the first real estate photography, I wouldn't now be curating an entire hotel's art collection.
Right.
Yeah.
So you might not be in that one avenue. If you say yes to it, it might open up a second door that puts you closer to the thing that you're really excited about.
And like the first solo trip, a lot of people will never, ever, ever travel solo.
Yeah.
That you went on to take photos.
Yeah. Somebody goes, when we were just on our trip in Japan, there was a person they were looking through. I brought one of my coffee table books, and they were like, where were you in this? I'm like, oh, I was in Moab. And they're like, oh, that's cool. I was like, yeah, I was 5 months pregnant, and I was spending the week in my car. And they're like, what? They go, I cannot believe your mom let you go. And I was like, my mom? Like, come on. I was like, it was great. I said I had a gun and multiple knives, and I like knew exactly like you talk about like the practice. Like I had my gun. I did a few dry runs, like where I'm laying, where can I grab it fastest? Like which side of the sleeping bag unzips. So you got to do stuff like that, especially if you're a pregnant female camping alone in the wilderness. Yeah, but you do that shit all the time.
If you're conscious, alert, breathing, and upright, you should practice it every day.
Right.
Oh, doesn't matter what you do. Yeah. I mean, if you own a gun, you should know exactly what to do in any situation with that gun. Yeah. If you don't, then you need training.
Yeah. And hey, can you train me?
Yeah. Like think about yesterday. Yesterday, the dogs were out back in the far back, and they went ballistic. I have never heard either dog bark like that. And Kona barked, and Kona never barks. Yeah. She might go whoop, and that's it. But they were going ballistic, and then Jackson yelped. So I stopped what I was doing. She was like mid-sentence with me, and I just disappeared. Stopped what I was doing. I was
in the garage or somewhere outside, and all of a sudden he's got shoes on, and I saw like not, I wouldn't say frantic, but he had a mission. Right. He was in his truck, and I'm like, he's getting his gun for something. I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, dogs. And I'm like, oh God, great. It's that mountain lion that's been running through town.
So that was my first thought, like, okay, in the back.
Yes.
And worst case scenario, dog got mauled and I need to put down a dog before Liv sees the dog.
Oh, I was like waiting for a gunshot
Right.
at like 1. I'm like, please don't be.
Yeah. And then I say, keep the kids in the house. And what happens? 2 minutes later.
Go in. That was me.
I know. That means you stay in the house too.
Oh. Well, I wanted you to cooey back so I knew you were alive and not getting mauled. And then you're not responding. And I'm like, do I need to go back there and now find a dead dog and a dead boyfriend?
Or do I need to grab a second gun?
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. But see what I'm saying? Like, I knew exactly where my gun was. I knew exactly what condition it was in. I knew exactly what to do, where to go.
Hey, I know what condition mine's in. He just cleaned it.
Ooh.
He goes, you know that squeaking with the slide? He's like, that shouldn't happen. I was like,
Yeah.
It was like,
yeah, I was like,
Ooh.
it sounded like an old mattress.
I'm like, listen, after cleaning it, and
Right.
you just
It's
hear,
like, yeah. I'm like, oh, it sounds so pretty now.
But okay, so you went on a solo trip,
Yeah.
right? You've done that. You've
Oh,
been in a number of situations you've chosen to get trained on, right?
Sure.
Or not chosen.
Yeah.
Either way, you're going to get thrown into it for
Right.
your occupation.
Sear School was a solo situation I was not ready for.
Which one?
Sear School.
What is Sear School?
Another podcast.
Another podcast.
Do you know what that is?
Yes.
Okay.
I've heard of it before.
Survive,
So-
evade, rescue, evacuate.
Oh, okay.
But you do that. Now you're like, okay, it's not so bad. It's like you can take those, out of your comfort zone, like steps. They can be baby steps or they can be. I wouldn't recommend somebody who is not trained at all to just go on a backpacking trip for 20 miles.
Sure.
That's how you die.
Yeah.
That is not
Please don't
wise.
do that because then I have to go look for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's search and it's not good.
No,
you know?
it's not good.
So it's about really it's training yourself in baby steps, what you feel comfortable with. Yeah, when I go out hunting or camping by myself, everybody's like, how do you do that? You started going out for 4 hours. Then you started going out for full days. And then you started going overnight by yourself. And you're like, it's not, when you really look at the problems you can have, okay, getting attacked by a mountain lion. Okay, if I've been in a tree stand where those suckers have come in, like the likelihood of it climbing the tree stand
Mm-hmm.
To
And
come eat you. Yeah.
is so slim.
And you can just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you
Yes.
do to not let them know that you're not there is don't move. Don't
Yeah.
make noises. Don't draw attention.
No
They're cats.
breathing.
Yeah.
so I'm glad you said that because
Yeah.
I did have a line of questioning for you. And I'm going to ask
we
you
have
now.
we have another hunting one that we want to
Yeah.
bring both of them on.
Yeah. So
Okay.
we already have it scheduled to, well, it's not scheduled, but it's in the books to have you and Jesse on.
Yeah.
And discuss hunting. This is the business side, the
The
boss bitch.
fearlessness. the
So my next question is to get ahead of Jesse. Sorry, dude. What is your most memorable or favorite solo hunting trip and why?
I'll tell you one that gave me more confidence and took the fear right out of me. Like after this trip, literally all the things I thought I was scared of took it right out. Jesse had just,
I'm like,
his
I know this
surgery on his
story.
arm. And so the doc was like, you absolutely, no matter what, cannot go hiking in the Florida mountains in New Mexico. I had drawn an archery ibex tag and they said, you can't. And he goes, what are we going to do? Should we not go? I was like, no, we are still going to go. Cause he had time off. He couldn't work. So we were taught that you have a spotter down, it's something different with New Mexico where you can have radios and spotters and all those things. And I had to get a real quick lesson on here's your Garmin spot. Here's your, all your things, your life saving. I had to carry my own first aid kit. I don't remember how many do you know? Do you know how many poisonous snake species are in that mountain range? I want to say it's like 7 deadly snakes.
What? I think that mountain range is 4, but there's 7 in the
Because
state.
that's where that guy let those, what are they Mojaves?
Mojave
Those ones
Green.
that chase you, the
Yep.
guy that
Chase you?
they chase you. Like if you're on a path, it will literally just stay in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Are
I
you
had to
talking
know-
about a snake?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A snake is chasing
It's
you.
a rattlesnake.
Yeah, it's a different kind of poisonous
So it's
rattlesnake.
hemoglobin or hemotoxin is a normal rattlesnake that attacks your bloodstream, and these are neurotoxic. So it attacks your nervous system, immediately shuts down your brain.
Your brain and your lymph. I mean,
Yeah,
like
lymph nodes,
everything.
everything.
Like you get struck by that, you got to know exactly like
It's like 9
where
minutes.
is my med vac? Like,
Yeah.
Oh my god!
If you don't take
Where's
action
my-
in 9 minutes, I think you die.
you have 9 minutes. So
Could you
can't
imagine Jesse being like with his binoculars, seeing you, and you're like, "I got it," and then
That'd be the last thing, and then it would just I'd hammer a button for locating.
wow,
Like training all that, like it cannot be in your backpack. It has to be on
Within
your body.
reach.
Yeah. Things like that. But
Jeez.
I went in there and everybody packs pistols apparently for that hunt. Mountain lions are more aggressive down there. The snakes, or you're 12 miles from the border, so it's also people. But I decided not to. I don't have a giant frame, so I chose not to carry a pistol because the noise and the extra stuff. I was like, just don't be stupid. I called a guy from Deming, New Mexico. He gave me some tips. He said, stay out of the sandy river bottoms, the old bottoms that are kind of dried out.
Full of snakes.
He said that's where all the snakes are going to be. He's like, watch when you step over the big rocks that have kind of
they're
lips.
hiding.
That's where they're going to be. If you take a nap, take it in a tree. I mean, they'll be in the trees.
Take
if
it
they
in a
want to,
tree.
but if you lay down, they will.
Yeah.
They can come over your legs or whatever.
I'm instantly like creeped out.
Yeah. So just don't be stupid. So I would hike that. I think it's about anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 feet elevation from the bottom up. And then the guy said, whatever you do, don't go in this canyon. I did end up there one day. And they said, don't hike down in the dark by yourself. It's stupid. Even grown men don't do that. Don't do it. I said, okay. If you get something down, I started making connections with people on the mountain, like guys I would just run into. I'm like, hey, and they were like, yeah, just call me. Here's my number. If you get something down, we're here to help, because Jesse couldn't come up.
Yeah.
So he spotted and stayed down below the whole time by the truck or whatever. And I would go up every day into this just cactus and thistles and snakes. And
wasn't it also like you said, like shale rock at the top?
Yeah. I got into a part where I was side hilling, which was more like full body sticker to the side of the mountain. And then as I was grabbing the shale, my fingers were just bleeding from getting cut. I was just latching on. I was like, how did I end up? I was trying to get to a little ridge.
Wasn't that because you were like tracking one then?
Yeah, I was trying to get in line. I'd seen a group of ibex kind of circle around this part, and I was like, oh, if I can get to here, it gives me a better shot opportunity. You're trying to read animals the whole time. Like, which way do you think you're going to go? Because they're so fast. And so I was trying to scale over, but doing that, I did that for 12 days straight.
12 days.
And I had trained cardio-wise. I had trained like the Dickens for that and shot, like, because you have to shoot. We can talk about this with archery, but there's a third axis. So that's when you're shooting up or down steep angles. You have to have your equipment on for archery so that it doesn't go off. So you have, 3 basic.
No, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, anyway, there's a third axis that if you're shooting at like the distance might be 60 yards, but you're shooting 45 because the angle is so steep or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So I practiced like crazy before we went on that, and then did the season, I think is 14 or 15 days. And I think I did 12 every single day. I would hike that thing up and down and around twice a day.
Did you get one?
No, I shot at one, and then one I ran into. It was so straight up the rock wall that when I pulled back, I couldn't see into the sun, and I couldn't see my bubble because it was completely blanked out from the sun. So I couldn't even see my level. And it's so integral to have every single thing on to be successful. Because then if you injure one too, there's so many, it's like ants.
Yeah.
You have no idea where it's going. And it's not a gunshot where people, if your spotter can see the splash come off the rock, at least you kind of know where you were at. Jesse could barely see where I was at in the landscape. Occasionally I carried a red handkerchief to like tie on my backpack when he was trying to locate me on the mountain, because everything in New Mexico looks close, but it's really, really far away. Because they don't have the trees like we do. So You're like, oh, it's just right there. It's not.
Yeah.
It's miles.
Yeah.
It's miles. And
Yeah.
so he needed to be able to find me. So I would have that. But when I would be down, like behind a boulder and in some like prickly pear, hiding, he had no idea if I was crawling or moving around or if I dumped equipment and also learning how to mark that. But after 12 days of doing that, and there was guys we had met that we're still friends with to this day, they had asked Jesse, oh, has you got a buddy up there? He's like, oh yeah, it's my wife. They're like, by herself in here? Nobody does that.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a choice. It was that or not do it. And I was like, well, now's the best time to learn all kinds of stuff,
Mhm.
What did
And-
you learn about yourself on that trip?
Oh man, if you're scared of snakes, that's going to go away real fast. Because they are everywhere and how to avoid them. Also, like knowing what's in your med kit, you can pack those things all you want. If you have no idea, like if a snake bites you, how you could possibly save your life,
Yeah.
going through that. And then just don't be stupid, which I think you do, because you start getting, when you go on these big hunting trips, you start getting dehydrated too, and you get really tired because
Mhm.
it's all day. And in New Mexico in October, it's so hot.
Yeah.
It's so hot, and you're just getting pummeled. Like just every ounce of energy you have is getting used up. And so you make I've had this on numerous trips. By about a week to week and a half, you start making really dumb decisions because you're just so mentally taxed
Mhm.
and physically taxed. And that's how I ended up in that one canyon. That guy's like, whatever you do, don't get back there. I ended up by a mountain lion cave. I crawled out. Everything was ripped. My skin was all full of blood from the thistles and thorns. I had a slight panic attack. Radios went dark because I was out of line of sight. I had no communication. Jesse had no idea where I went. I ended up in the bottom of this canyon. There's mountain lion crap everywhere and bones. And I was like, oh my God, this is a hunting ground.
This is it.
Yeah. And I was just in this bowl in this canyon. And I know why that guy said don't go back there, because it was steep and it was thick with thorns. So climbing out, all kind of like Alaska with the alders pointing down, that's like, there were so many like mesquite bushes, and they're just ripping my skin. But then I slightly panicked. Instead of taking that minute to just chill, should have just chilled for a second. But I panicked and I just started grabbing at roots of whatever I could and rocks and pulling myself out. And it just ripped my body into pieces.
Yeah.
By the time I got back to the truck, Jesse's like, what happened? I was like, I don't know. I was like, I got in that canyon. And now I understand why that guy said, don't go in there. Whatever you do, it's not worth it. And it wasn't. It wasn't. It was like, I just got trapped. I thought it was a shortcut. It was awful. But so I learned a ton. And I learned how to just, by yourself, if you don't psych yourself out, and much what Pat has probably learned with the military, like if you don't psych yourself out, if you can get into the headspace of, I'm okay, this is going to be okay, you can do so much.
Yeah.
But even there's guys that draw that tag that don't get out of their truck because it's that intimidating. The fact that I did it for 12 days in a row, all day.
Did you like have like a small coma when you got home? Like just sleep all day?
Yeah.
For
you
multiple?
do on the way home when your body, I mean, Pat can attest to that.
Every night.
When you're high adrenaline like that and everything is to keep you alive and not get hurt.
Like once you're safe, your body's like,
I slept super hard. And then, when you get home and you know what it's like to sleep in a home where you don't have to like worry about everything.
Yeah.
Your whole body, mentally, physically, but that trip changed my whole life because I did what so many will never do. And
I think those experiences, like the toughest, can completely turn your life around in a positive way.
Yep.
Like you know what you're able to survive.
But I think anytime those situations too, like I have a friend in Wyoming, he just did it was free. I wish I could have attended because this guy is super knowledgeable on survival stuff. If I could learn that, I would get even more fearless in the woods because he teaches you so much because he's so well versed in that.
That would be
good.
And
he just took a group out into the Bighorns for like 3 days. He gave you the pack gear list and taught you everything.
That's cool.
Let's do it.
I would like to.
I wanted to go. If I wasn't gone I would have totally went. It was 2-3 days last week, and he is so knowledgeable. And if I could have that kind of uncomfortable, that's super uncomfortable where you're looking at, if you have minimal resources, how do you get by? And then we have a friend in Bozeman too, who is a wilderness specialist. He has a whole platform as
Girls
well.
trip. I feel
Yeah.
like when we talk about like, hey, you want to go look for sheds? I'm like, God, this is not a female thing to do. Like we hiked, gosh, in this place.
She was a trooper.
And it was so hot.
So hot.
So hot. And we found you found like a few chalky, like
chalks.
Yeah, old ones. We didn't find anything new.
Not worth it then.
I know, but it is still fun. You get to learn a lot. Like when you take someone like Liv who isn't out there doing it all the time, and you get to just be like, hey, this is what this is, and oh, this is sign of this, and it's so much fun to share that with somebody. But it takes, not everybody could do what you did.
I know, she goes
to ration water, and
she's like, you passed for hunting in the future. I'm like, well, I like to say that I hunt with my camera already,
right?
And going in different places. So that was you, I guess, giving me the stamp of approval to be like, you're allowed to join me,
right? Well, because a lot of people would whine.
Yeah.
You stuck it out with not any complaints. I was shocked because it was hot that day. It was a lot of miles. And when you do that, you're not on trails.
How many? It was like 8 or 9 miles, wasn't it?
Yeah. Because then we got back to
the
the truck. And I was like, well, there's just this one little mile thing. I got to go.
Yeah, we need to go get
water and get a camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I took her on the elk hunt with me, it was like 60 degrees during the day, windy, but nothing crazy. And I was like, man, this is nice. And then we get into this like ground blind, and I could see the clouds just start to cover the sun, and then the sun start to set. And I'm like, it's going to get cold. I could just, I could feel, just knowing that area, knowing New Mexico, I'm like, it's going to get cold.
Yeah.
And so I look down at her, and she's just sitting there. And I'm like, are you cold? And she's like, yeah.
Yeah.
But she wasn't like shivering. She wasn't complaining. And I'm like, man, she's a trooper.
Yeah. He's like, you're the first girl that I brought here. I'm like, oh, good. Then I'll shut up and not whine at all. No.
Yeah.
And then, going to the shot, and like you said, everything in New Mexico is way farther than it looks.
Oh, way farther.
So we had like 30, 40 cows step out in front, and I'm like 250 yards. And I tried to use my rangefinder, but it was frozen.
Oh, yeah.
That's how cold it got.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, 250. Boom. And I see the ground, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So then we bust through a tree line, and I, as hard as I could, hit my rangefinder on a rock.
Yeah.
Grabbed it, turned, and it worked.
And what was it though?
380. I was like, my bad.
Yeah.
40 cows turned into 80 when we came through the trees. So we were like, oh, okay. And then I was like, well, I missed that one. So I'm like, oh, there's the biggest one? There's the biggest one. Boom.
Yeah.
Dropped. And she's like, oh, thank you for your life.
Yeah.
And
I
I'm
was
like
whimpering.
that
was
like,
the only time that I was
down.
whining, because I see her flailing, and I'm like, oh. And I'm like, please just die. Just die. Like right now. I don't want to see you suffering.
It's like, it's been 4 seconds. Give it a second. It'll die. I hit. It was a good hit. It'll die.
So when you're hunting alone and you're cold like that and you have to move, that's another level of, it's like a killer instinct that females don't. We have it, but it's different.
Not
it takes
as accessible
longer
or something.
Yeah, it's different. It takes longer for us to learn, because it took me a long time to get the kill instinct to, like, you got to move instead of freeze. You got to move. Like this year when I was in the tree stand and that blizzard was blowing in, I could see.
Is that when I text you and I was like,
no, that was a different time. That's
like
when you're like, if you're west of me right now, it's hailing, you better get out. And thank God I did, because I got pelted and that tree stand got super slippery. It's like, again, when you're by yourself, falling 8 feet backwards because you slip off your tree stand.
Right.
You're done.
Not a big deal when your buddy's a half acre away. But.
Yeah, exactly. But you're not calling anybody because you don't have cell phone service on the ground.
And only Ashley do I text somebody wellness check.
Yeah.
How many times do I do that with you? I'm like, are you alive? Like, because sure, you might be busy, but you also might have been in a tree stand and got eaten by a mountain lion that was stalking you because you were alone.
Life experience. Because I'll call if Jesse's gone out of town or something or working, he'll know where I'm at. He'll know approximately trailheads, but I'll call my mom and say, hey, if you haven't heard from me by 9 or 10 p.m., mountain time.
Mhm.
Can you please look at my location or something on my last location on the phone, and then also try and call me if I don't answer. You need to find somebody here, like stat, to come check on me, because it is a real. You just can't be an idiot, but it's a risk, right? Every time you go out, I've just become smart. Like, so when I shot that deer this year, it was turning 20. Oh man, it was sub-zero temps, and all of a sudden I could see the blizzard roll in, and this buck came out, and when I drew back, and then he stopped. He stopped before I couldn't shoot him. I was like, oh, I can hold it. And then my whole body started shaking from adrenaline, and it was getting tired. You don't know if it's adrenaline or getting tired or really, really cold. Yeah. And then finally he went forward, and then I didn't let it back down. Then he kept going, of course, doesn't stop enough for me to recover. So I pulled back and I shot him. And then I had called Jesse from the tree stand. I did have service on the ground, but he's like, you want me to come help you? And now normally I could have done that myself, but the storm is rolling in. I'm like, I'm not an idiot. I'm over a mile away from my truck, and it's going to be at least 2 trips.
Right.
And so with all the gear and stuff. And so I was like, yeah, I need you to come up here before, because otherwise if your hands, you have to think. You can warm your hands up when they get into the animal, but as it goes, you do.
I know, but
like you do, like you get, that's how you warm them up initially. Yeah. Like when you first get the.
You ever seen Star Wars? You can just climb inside the whole body.
I think of what's one with Leo DiCaprio, and he cuts open the horse.
The grizzly bear.
What is that called?
Revenant.
Yeah,
Revenant.
There you go.
He gets in the horse, and I'm like, oh, but it's smart.
But it's smart, yeah. So, but if you start losing dexterity,
you could cut yourself,
and you can cut yourself. Yeah. And many of people have done that. And then you have to be able to. Do you have all your meds? What?
Stab myself.
Oh yeah. I've sliced my finger wide open, and it's like, what are you gonna do?
Those Razor's Edge.
Yes.
When those first came out, I was skinning a doe, and I was standing on the hind legs, and I was just cutting.
Did you cut your thigh?
I pulled the skin up, and I'm cutting the fat between the muscle, and my foot came off of this hind leg, and it rolled. And at a reaction, I just went, oh. Well, when I did that, my knife went into my calf. Exactly. And I was like, oh,
so many guys.
Like the knife is in my calf. I'm like, oh, wow.
That's bad. Yeah. That's really bad. Yeah.
Luckily, I was 40 feet from my truck.
I know. So if you are out there and you're over a mile and you can't walk on one leg, and you have a deer down, and you have an obligation to get it out, and all your gear, it's like you have to know, I don't know,
and
you're weighing all that stuff.
Well, and it's timing too. If you just let the deer sit, depending on the temperature, that could be wasteful.
Yeah.
You could have wasted your whole
if it was
tag, the animal, everything.
Yeah.
I think it's also, like you said, like knowing when to ask for help, because you're not one to ask for help.
No.
So in that situation where you knew, all right, I'm already freezing. My fingers are going to stop working. Like thinking logically in those moments, I think is key. Mm-hmm. Like I have not been around hunting or any of that my entire life. Like my dad gets sad, and my mom too. She's a vegetarian. I've never been around this whole hunting mentality, but like owning horses and stuff. Yes. Like when my horse Bolt, this was like 2017, I just got him, brand new horse, and he falls, he slips on a boulder, and all of a sudden, my ex is like, hey, Bolt's limping. And so I go in there, and he's like a movie, squirting blood out of his tricep. Size of the length of my hand, he had slit through his skin and his muscle. It's just squirting out. And I'm like freaking out. And then all of a sudden it was like, all right, think logically. And I think we've talked about all the fires that I dealt with, and like saving our house and all that. But like, if you don't have those kind of experiences, I probably would have been freaking out the whole time. And I'm like, no, tourniquet. So I get like some of that vet wrap, and I start tying it right above it to like get the bleeding to stop. But like so many people who aren't conditioned in any difficulties, they probably would have been there like, what do I do?
What do you do?
Yeah, but you got to think, all right, look at the situation. What needs to be done to either get the job done for you hunting, or for me, like, how can I stop the bleeding? Mm-hmm. So it's like really, it is practice, I think.
Yeah.
So a good tip that we use, and I've used probably for 20 years, is put time to it. So learn a trade, right? Learn how to put on a tourniquet properly. And once you learn how to put on a tourniquet, now give yourself 1 minute to put on a tourniquet.
Yeah.
And then give yourself 30 seconds to put on a tourniquet. And then once you're good at that, now you can only put a tourniquet on with your left hand if you're right-handed. So in the training we went to, we just had this friendly competition of tourniquets, of applying a tourniquet. There was like 30 of us. So it was partner up with 2 people just to make it go faster. First one finished with proper application of the tourniquet, raise your hand. So I raise my hand, the guy walks over, checks the tourniquet. All right, it's good. You passed, you moved on. Leave that tourniquet on. So I leave that tourniquet on. I go into the next group. And then they say, okay, take your tourniquets off, hand it to your buddy. And your buddy takes it and ties it in 20 different knots and gets it all fucked up because you have it staged a certain way.
Oh, yeah.
So they like twist it and turn it and switch the Velcro around and then hand it back to you. Okay, 1 minute, go. Tear it off, do it again. All right, done. And I figured I was going to be done pretty quickly. But I ended up going 6 rounds and I ended up winning. And at the end, they had us, our eyes had to stay shut, and then they taped our hands like shocker.
Yeah.
They taped our
Everybody knows what that is.
Yeah. They taped our ring fingers down and our thumbs across.
Okay.
And so we only had this. So now I had to take my tourniquet out of the pouch, undo the tourniquet, put the tourniquet on with my eyes closed. And then it had to be on properly. Well, I ended up winning it, but the point is, once you're good at something, make it
harder.
Make it stressful.
Yeah.
Adding time is probably the best thing. Because if
it makes you panic
tomorrow morning, after you get out of the shower and you got your outfit, just say, okay, I can put this outfit on and it takes me 5 minutes to do that.
Do it in a minute.
No, give yourself 30 seconds to throw all your clothes on.
Yeah. And you start to fumble. Yeah.
You start to panic.
Yep.
And like what is as easy as putting a leg through a pant leg.
Yep.
You trip and you fall on your face for whatever reason, just because there's time added to it.
It's true.
So when you're training, put stressors in your training that make you better. And then you're
all of that stuff, that whole mindset is exactly what I use every single day with stuff. Because if you start panicking, because there will be like, you talked about selling multi-million-dollar houses.
Yeah.
You immediately panic because it's a big transaction for, buyers and sellers. And if you let that sink in, you have to have trust and you have to know like what to do in your situation, right? You have to trust that it's going to work out too.
Yeah.
Not naively, but you can carry that in how you structure your day as well. Yeah. Like everybody, your comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing grows there.
Yep.
So the second you start pushing yourself more, like you can handle a lot.
And overshoot, but don't be disappointed if you don't reach that goal.
Right.
Like I had a previous boss when I was contracting for the Pentagon. We were building drones, and they wanted us to have an end result within like a quarter of the timeline. And we're like, there's no way we can get this done. So for 18-hour shift, every single person just busted their ass. And every minute detail never got skipped. Well, at the end, it was like, there's just no way we can have this complete, but this is how far we've gotten.
Right.
And the owner of the company, which is Lockheed Martin's secret program, he literally drafted and developed multiple top secret aircraft. So when the dude walked in the room, it was like pretty intimidating. He's old, so he's not physically intimidating, but just his resume is intimidating. Like, this guy's checking my work. I'm going to get it thrown out. It's not going to pass. And he comes in and he just started kind of golf slow clapping, And we're looking at him like, is this guy psychotic? Did he lose his mind? Like, he's slow.
Senile.
Yeah, he's slow clapping. And all he wanted to see was that under pressure, we didn't skip steps to have an end result, because they were coming in to spot check our work from the Pentagon.
Right.
So the Pentagon came in later that week, and it was all just a test to see if we were going to skip steps.
Under pressure, yeah.
Yeah, so we didn't skip steps under pressure. We kept the pace. We did everything the way we were supposed to do it. And then at the end of the day, he was like, "Hey, great job. You didn't accomplish the task, but you did as much as you could, and you did it correctly."
Right. Because you're still human.
Yeah.
Again, it comes back to you're still human at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I think like for what you were just saying about selling $1 million properties, you have to trust yourself
mhm.
and not let the status of something intimidate you and make you question your ability.
Yeah, because what am I going to say? No.
Like for me, when I'm photographing a person rather than nature, I think
That's intimidating.
yeah, I do. I get in my head, but it's like I know what to do. Like I know exactly what settings I need to put the camera in. Like I've done this before, but
What
it's
if
all
they don't like it?
yeah, and it's all that internal dialogue of like I know what to do. So like you know how to sell a house. It's just a more expensive property. That's
Right.
it.
Right.
You know? So it's like, I know what to do. I got
Right.
this.
I got this.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
work hard. And if you can work hard, it'll go miles.
Mhm.
Miles.
Yeah.
Just put in the work.
Yeah.
Nothing grows by itself. Like we're not just going to wake up the next day and be millionaires and wake up the next day and have more followers on Instagram. And, nothing happens overnight. It just takes all those little steps at chipping away and taking those opportunities and like maximizing them.
No one sees you getting up early. No one sees you, struggling. They see the success and they go, "Oh, you're just lucky." And it's like, "No, you don't know all the work that I put in that I don't promote. I don't show the
Right.
world all this work behind the scenes."
I think about, you're talking about algorithms and influencers. They just bother me. I don't like influencers, like the people like, Instagram, watch this, someone do this and do that. I don't like it. I can't stand it.
Wait, what were they like?
Do this and do that. But the people that I've looked up to throughout my years, those motivational speakers, the Jocko Willinks, the Conor McGregor,
David Goggins.
David Goggins, yeah, all these dudes. And I just shared it the other day. They were all Andy Frisella. They all spoke on this one reel, and it was, if you're going to say something, do it. If you're going to put a goal for yourself, then make sure that you reach that goal. And if it comes easy, then make it harder for yourself so that you grow from it. And, listening to those people versus this dude with bleach blonde hair and pineapple, the Island Boys, whatever. I'm an Island boy.
What?
Those idiots.
I don't know, but I feel like you need to send me an example of this.
A what?
We both want to know what the fucking
Yeah,
Island Boy
I want
is.
to know what this
sure.
is. I would like an example of an Instagram page.
Island
Please feel free to
Boy.
forward on to
I
me.
got
want
it.
an
It's
example.
coming.
Okay.
But to kind of wind things down, with so many people trying new avenues and trying new things, do you have any advice for somebody who's either just starting out or is on the verge of jumping to that next wall, so to speak, the shit wall?
Yeah. See which
You
one
know?
sticks? Yeah. I would just say go at it, evaluate it. Honestly, I pray a lot and there's a sense of peace, man, when you believe in a higher power. If you have that peace going into it, it's saying something, and it means don't ignore it. That's a big thing. And just have trust in yourself and your life experience that you can do it. And especially if somebody else brought you an opportunity, say, hey, you should do this. If you look at it, that means they saw it in you before you saw it in yourself.
Yeah.
And we dismiss that more often, I think, than we'd like to believe. And we probably can't even remember all the times people have said that to all of us. It doesn't mean you have to jump ship and leave a really good paying job to go.
Listen to your friend who told you to do something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because you're like, they said I'd be really good at it. Look at it like, does it make sense? And then go for it. And honestly, if you develop a really strong work ethic, you can almost get through anything. Like,
Mhm.
as long as you're willing to work hard and take the punches, because anytime you do something new, you're going to be met with challenges and scrutiny and punches the
Mhm.
whole way. Know that you're going to have to deal with some awkward level. No one likes to learn anything new because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's not mindless work anymore. And that there's so much growth in that when you start, oh yeah, I knew how to do that before, but now I just got to change it,
Yeah. Learning to like being bad at something, especially for like a perfectionist, like I have been most of my life. But then I also learned perfectionism, it stops you from doing anything because if it's not perfect, you're like, man, I'm not going to do it. So yeah, so like being okay with messing up or being new at something, the quote that really has helped me through that process is no one started any career as a professional. Everyone started as a
Yes.
beginner. So like that is really inspiring. Like everyone, even the best, football player, remember they
Right.
threw their first ball. It probably was an awful throw. Probably like one of mine.
You're not an expert.
Yeah.
Day one, you're not an expert. But if you're willing to work hard and learn and take the challenges, I say go for it. And if it's a financial strain thing, well, Pat, you're doing it. You started an LLC. Right now, you have a full-time steady job, great benefits, all those things. You just have to figure out, it's really hard. It's really hard to do multiple things when you're stacking them. But if you just know that it's a season of it until you figure out exactly how you develop everything out, then you can do it. But it takes a lot of discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do any of that. Just really focusing, and don't get in your head. You will get in your head, but don't let it try to affect you day after day after day, or you'll be miserable.
Right.
And then you need to walk away.
Mm.
So that's when it gets too stressful and you're like, this is not me. I've sacrificed everything. That's when, you need to walk away.
Yeah. And like you said in the very beginning, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So if you look at that thing that you're talking about achieving and you're looking at as a whole, it's going to be super daunting if you're like, oh, I just got to get here. But there's about 10 steps below that. So which one is the first step? What's one step that gets you closer to your goal? Not how do you get to your goal? What's one step each day that can get you so much closer? That I think is huge for me, probably for you, little bits at a time, and just chisel away at it. It's huge.
Yeah. And comparison, what do they say is the thief of joy or whatever? Is that the saying?
Yep.
If you take someone, like let's say you started out in photography, or you started out with your LLC, and you looked at, oh, that job's too big. This guy is more seasoned for it because he has 10, 12 years. Doesn't matter.
Right.
Like he can still do a good job, but so can you. You're just going to learn more in the process by like trying to achieve it.
Yeah. And yeah, for that other guy that we're talking about, this mysterious person, it might have been like the autopilot kind of boring, but for you, if you do it, you might be learning so much the whole
and you'll
time.
gain confidence.
Yeah.
You gain confidence from it.
Yeah.
And that's an amazing feeling. And that's just comes with experience and saying yes to opportunity.
Yeah. And you'll look hot doing it.
Especially if the sun's out.
Mm. If the sun's out.
I think of it being okay to go to school for one thing and switch. Like it's kind of, I think, exciting. Like if you're able to switch your mindset around change, you're not a failure. It's like, I think failure is staying in something, staying in a work environment, relationship, and being unhappy.
Yeah.
And
getting like where it's just so scheduled and you don't have an idea. I really do think when you graduate high school at 18, you just don't have enough life experience. You've lived with your parents. They've curated a life for the most part for you where you don't have the stress of just life. How are you supposed to decide what you're going to do when you don't even know what life how to navigate it?
Yeah, what it looks like living on your own.
I've been through the recruiting world. I went to SDSU for that career fair all the time, and kids were there almost ready to graduate, and they're like, I don't really want to do this. I'm like, why are you here? Just burning money. Just go outside and light 80 grand on fire because that's what you just did.
Yeah.
The last 4 years of your life. Hopefully it was fun, But to me, if you honestly don't know, I wish my parents would have been a little bit more open-minded. It was fine that I went into cosmetology. 18 months. I didn't lose a bunch of money, right? I didn't sacrifice 4 years and then do another 4 years in switching, all that stuff. But honestly, I think if you go in and you just want to go work for a couple years, like experience life, move out, see what that kind of stress looks like. You're going to figure out real fast what starts looking appealing in the real world. Once you start in the workforce, especially like my brother was athletic and he didn't have a chance to start working right away as early as I did because the athlete's schedule is so tight, especially multi-sport athletes. They don't have the chance to go into, waitressing or whatever kind of jobs to, experience The only reason he did is he was wicked smart and went and got a welding degree with his extra credits in high school and started doing that on the weekends, made crazy good money, but knew when he's 19, I don't really feel like doing this.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this full time, but
I'm definitely going to encourage that with Hendrix. It's like, slow down. Like me, I thought, oh, what happens if I don't go to school right away? What are my classmates going to think? Am I going to look like a slacker?
Right.
And I really do wish that I took a year and traveled like I wanted to. I think living in another culture too, like completely getting out of your element and seeing how people live their lives in like another country, that's huge, I think.
Different cities even. Not even different countries.
Yeah. Get out of the state.
Out of like your little tiny bubble. Because you've been in a bubble for 18 years of your life. For the most part. You don't even know how to like navigate. Like I said, all of that. I wish my parents, I don't know where I would be. I don't know where I would be if they would have.
Yeah.
But I would have loved had they just said, okay, till you're 20, go find something, go find a place to live, go see what this looks like, learn what bills look like, and how to pay them and navigate a checkbook and being broke and all those things. Thankfully, I had parents that raised me early on for like really nailing down financials and being a saver and what you need to save for and things like that. Being able to discover what's out there.
So we just lost our camera and we're just going to continue with our nice pretty logo on the screen if you're watching.
Boom.
But we also are at the end. We know that the camera dies at like what? We've been talking like 2 hours. Yeah. So long time.
As far as a teenager becoming an adult, not knowing what to do or what to expect from life, consider the military, because the military gives you a contracted 4 years of guaranteed benefits, a guaranteed paycheck. Depending on what branch you're in, you're going to get a lot of life experience and a lot of different avenues that you can dabble in order to find yourself. It wasn't until I was in the military that I really started to get it. I was fully on my own, never relying on family for anything. Food was on me, my car was on me, my bills were on me. Later in the military, my wife and my kids and their well-being and all of that was on me.
Definitely makes you grow up fast.
Yeah. It's my belief, male or female, everyone between the age of 18 and 21 needs to serve in the military for the entire country, every single person.
That's what the Switzerland does.
Yeah, that's what Israel does.
I wish I would have done it.
A lot of countries do it. America's about the only country that doesn't really. Huh. But my point is, you're going to get a lot of life experience in a short amount of time, and you'll be able to figure shit out before you're 25. And then you have an opportunity at that point to go, I'm going to stay military. And then you continue down the same career in a more advanced setting. Like I did 4 years, and then I re-enlisted and did 4 years, and then each of the 4 years got extended by a year because of war. My second 5 years was leaps and bounds better for my life than my first 5. My first 5 was survival mode.
Yeah, you were learning.
My second 5 was how to navigate personalities, people, businesses, what matters in life versus what doesn't.
Yeah.
My first 5 years was more the untweaking of a teenager to make him into an adult.
Yeah, that makes sense.
My second 5 years was being an adult. And then, at that point I was like, I don't want to stay in this forever. So boom, retirement. Now I'm able to live my life still having all of those skill sets because of that time spent in the military as a young kid. I'm able to react to life now.
Calmer.
No. Just if I didn't have that experience, I would handle it totally different.
Yeah, you would probably be a little bitch.
Never.
I'm kidding. Anyway, we went on a complete tangent there, and probably most of the episode. But from what I've gathered in our conversation is being okay with being a newbie and don't view it as being a failure. Everyone was a beginner at any field. So don't be afraid to take chances. Don't be afraid to be in a career and completely pivot and do something else. I think life is better lived when you take chances. So I hope that whoever is listening, that you were able to gain kind of inspiration and some fearlessness in maybe trying something new. If this inspired you to maybe not go to school right away, you're fresh out of high school and you want to take a year off, like maybe send your parents this episode and say, hey, look, like, listen, this is what 3 different people are saying. Like, don't rush into it because that's what you should do. That word should, it does not mean that it's law. Try other things. So fearlessness, take a chance. If you're in a career path and you're in your 30s, that's okay. Try something new. I like I don't know if it's a quote or saying, but it's okay to move multiple places and do different things because you're not a tree. You don't have roots. It's like we have feet for a reason, you know? So trying new things can open up your life in so many different ways.
Very well said.
Oh, thanks. My jet lag feels like it wasn't, but that's okay. And also, we want to thank everybody who has listened and helped us reach exciting milestones. We get like the little award saying, you reached this or you reached that. Yeah, thanks. And so getting those, it's not why we're doing it. We enjoy spreading inspiration and just shooting the shit, the two of us. But reaching those milestones, getting more reviews, we've had several more because I think we say it at the end of every podcast. It's super simple on Spotify. You hit the 3 dots below the show name and logo, and it just says rate show. And all you have to do is give it 1 to 5 stars. It's so simple, right? I didn't know how to do it.
I didn't know how to do it. You kept saying it. I was in there and I was like, I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, it's the 3 dots on the right-hand side at the top of our like channel. And all you do is hit, I thought you had to leave a review.
Oh.
Nope, it's 1 to 5 stars. I think it's very similar on Apple Podcast. And then the best way through YouTube is subscribing to our channel, giving the episode a thumbs up, and then always sharing, like you said, word of mouth with Two Broke Girls. It's the same thing with the podcast. The more you share the link to people, the more it gets out there to new listeners.
Yep. Thumbs up, subscribe, comment, share. On all platforms.
Not all, yes.
It's just easy. It's an easy way.
Yep, it's an easy way to just show us that you're enjoying it, to keep us feeling good. Obviously, like I said, we're going to keep doing it just because we like hearing ourselves talk. No, I'm kidding. It's rewarding for us to share some stories that maybe make somebody else feel like they're less alone in a situation, or in this case, it gives them inspiration to take chances and try new things. So I want to thank you again. Are there any links or any ways that you want people to be able to get a hold of you?
Oh. Yes. Well, for real estate, I have a Facebook and Instagram page that is something, again, perfectionism. I don't get you. But yeah, I'm on there. I'm Southwest South Dakota land specialist.
Yeah,
Ashley
so if you're
Kurtenbach.
in this region, right? Just in Southwest South Dakota only.
Yeah, but we work nationwide. We're in 41 states.
Okay. Yeah, so if you guys are looking for property, that would be Ashley Kurtenbach, and we'll add the links in the show notes on all platforms.
And Two Broke Girls.
And I was going to say, if you want some not only cute clothing, but to have professionals who will help you pick your skin color, your color palette, the different silhouettes that fit your body. Like when I go in there, even though she's like my best friend, I still feel like I'm being pampered. Like I feel like a customer where I'm like, oh, help me. Like I need an outfit for this event. And she just comes in and she's like, all right, this. I'm like, I never would have thought of those 2 items together, but it looks so cute. So they know what they're doing. If you're in Spearfish or you want to come visit, you have to stop by their store. It's right on Main Street in Spearfish, South Dakota. And then if you're looking for properties in any state, Ashley knows the hookup. She knows somebody in your state. And I already told her, I'm like, you're already going above and beyond in real estate. And you've been in it, what, 2 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was an opportunity. I was actually elk hunting. I had a buddy who was like, hey, they need an agent here. I said, they do?
They're like, okay, let's do this. And she's like, all right, I'm becoming a real estate agent.
Right.
Yeah. So I have to say that not because you're my friend. Like I've already noticed that you go above and beyond. Like you were helping sell Pat's house and she's out in the driveway shoveling snow or helping plow somebody else's house. Like don't see that as, oh, you can use and abuse her, but she will go above and beyond. If she sees that something needs to get done, she just freaking does it. So we'll put your contact information for Whitetail, your boutique, so you guys can come visit. And anything else that we see is necessary or relevant, we'll put it in the show notes. Anything you want to say, love?
Get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Amen.
Mr. One-liner.
I like it.
Yeah, he does it all the time. Or it'd be like, don't give a shit. Mic drop. Thank you for listening and have a beautiful day.
Namaste.